Scott, Steve, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
It is great to see y'all. Can you tell us like how you found First Church?
Well, I was the original founder.
You found
Yeah.
First Church first.
Well, of us coming here.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I found the church first. I was in a relationship some 40 years ago, and he came to the choir, and he ended up auditioning for one of the summer musicals, and he was in The King and I.
Okay.
And so that brought me down here. I'm not musically inclined at all, so I got to sit in the audience and met a few people, and we'd come back for the performances.
Yeah.
And lo, these many years later, I established a church home, left at one point because of a minister's problem, and decided that no, he was just a person. I'm coming back. This is my family.
Yeah.
And so I was part of the package, and Steve joined in on it.
So when we met, he was already involved with First Church, and I didn't live in Dallas yet. I was still in East Texas working on graduate school. But I started visiting even before I lived here. We visited a lot on the weekend, and visited for probably year and a half, 2 years, and then it seemed sort of ridiculous that I hadn't joined. So I joined, and probably getting involved in a Sunday school class helped me to get connected with other members of the congregation.
Yeah, it sort of cultivates a sense of belonging. I imagine you get like a group of folks who know you and like are thinking about you. Yeah. Wait, so how long have y'all been together?
Well, we celebrated 37 years 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But then we married 20 years and 20 days after we met, so we have our wedding anniversary this Thursday. So.
This Thursday. Yeah. My wedding anniversary is today, actually.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, 12 years.
All right.
So you've been here for a while, well established. If you think back to when you first started attending together as a couple, how has being a part of this church community, this congregation, helped your faith, right? And how have you developed spiritually because you've been a part of this place?
Yeah, we've been, I guess, established here, and I think as a same-sex couple, it's interesting that some of our friends would be like, "Why are you going downtown when you live right by a reconciling congregation?" And I'll be honest, I think for me there was some tension around, not so much with our church, but the United Methodist Church
in general.
And certainly we had witnessed some friends at Oaklawn Methodist that had a change in leadership there, where suddenly sort of anti-gay sermons were being preached. So I can remember when we had a ministerial change that I sort of sent an email to the pastor kind of asking, am I welcome here? Or are we welcome? Yeah. Because there's a lot of, opinions within the Methodist Church about the role of LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
I think certainly in recent days, one of the most exciting things is seeing our congregation vote overwhelmingly in support of including everyone in our church family. And I think that was meaningful. I'll be honest that there were times of some ambivalence or uncertainty over where things were going to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
And what place do I have here, or how much of me can I bring into the room?
Yeah, what percentage of my full self, my authentic self can I be? Yeah.
I mean, Scott would always joke when people would ask us that. He's like, well, we're doing outreach. But it in a way, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, no, it's true.
A lot of stigma and discrimination, I think, is steeped in ignorance and lack of exposure.
Yeah.
And sort of some of our closest friends, many of them older than us in the church, who didn't really know other gay people.
Yeah.
I think that was an important mission in some small way, just to be present.
Keep showing up.
Yeah.
Why did y'all stay here?
Well,
I mean, it was a challenge, I imagine, especially if y'all been here a long time. The United Methodist Church has gone through a lot. Like, why'd y'all stay?
I never felt unwelcomed. And I always felt it was my mission to sit, front and center. We used to always go to early service.
Yeah.
And, so I would sit front and center, 4 rows back, middle pew. so that someone could see a gay person in the room.
Yeah.
You know, we've met so many people in the church that had never met a gay person before. And I just thought, well, that's my mission. You know, I need to keep going down there. And you know, we've got several older friends.
Yeah.
I've never felt any animosity about being here, because everyone was friendly. And so I, in turn, am friendly to everyone else. You know, somebody new comes in the door, I want to meet them, make sure that they're comfortable, and you know, just carry on.
The other thing I think is one of the things I've loved about this congregation, especially historically, is there's such an openness to a diversity of opinion. I mean, even within the clergy, I remember when we had a clergy member very involved in needle exchange programs in the inner city, and sort of conservative versus more progressive. There's been a tolerance for differences of opinion within the church, and it's nice that we don't all have to agree on every social issue to come together and connect. And I think that was, for me, super refreshing. But I come from more of a background where the church might beat you over the head and tell you what to believe, versus let you struggle through and figure this out on your own.
Unity over uniformity, right? The idea that we can all be together even though we don't think alike. What I mean, y'all give generously to the church. How do y'all go about that? What's that? Why do you do it? And how do you decide as a couple, you know, what giving looks like?
So historically, Scott would give, I would give to certain things, but I would also support other local and national charities. When the church vote changed, well, I didn't have a reason not to more fully support the church, and so our amount of pledge increased significantly. Beyond that, I mean, I think we, in our financial lives, divvy things up. There's certain things that I've covered in terms of charitable giving that we both were involved in because he was giving more to the church. So right or wrong, that was my position. But it was so refreshing to be able to, without any reservations, give more fully to the church because I can fully support their mission now. And it's our church home, and the church, I mean, the outreach programs that they support, all of the important ways. Our church had a care team ministry working with, back in the height of the AIDS pandemic, we were caring for people at the end of their life, and our church had a team to take part in that. They've done a lot of other important things, and our money goes important places. I mean, for any of us who've been blessed or had opportunities that not everyone has, there's some obligation to give back. And I think it's nice to be able to do that here, and that's part of what's kept us involved all this time.
I love it. Last question, real quick. What would you say to someone who's like on the fence? You know, they get a pledge card in the mail, they haven't filled one out. Is there anything you would encourage them or say to them, or obviously not twisting their arm, right? Like that's not what we do, but like, is there anything you would say or encourage them?
Yeah, well, I'd always have trouble asking people for money, and knowing the good works that we do and the projects that they could be involved in. I've been involved, you know, in the Goodrich Gallery for years. And so I feel, you know, that's part of my mission, but there's so much more to give that I don't have the time for. So I give my money, and, you know, my mother always taught me that, hey, you know, here's some money, put it in the plate. And so I started at a young age, and it's like, I feel it's my responsibility to be a part of this church and to support it.
I love that.
I mean, the church isn't just a building, it's a community of people. I know during the pandemic, when we went remote, it was really tough. But you got to keep the lights on, got to keep the air conditioning running, got to pay staff, and the important work the church does. I think there's a payoff on that investment. And that's why we give.
I love it. Thank y'all so much for taking time.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.